To just get the 500 rupees. I don't want to hear the reasons. And I became ruthless. And I took the money. He'd say, sit down and have a cup of tea. No, I don't have time, and I'd leave. And you know what happened? I knew. It was in a month or two when he'd come to Dogar, he'd touch my feet. And he'd say, Hauserman, you're a holy man. In our house, those children were sick for months and months. I gave you that money. You literally ripped it out of my hand. I didn't give it to you. You tore it away. But you know, from that day to this, the children aren't sick. The home is happy. I've got money is coming. I'm getting the roof fixed. This was just one story. It would go on and on. I could tell you stories of endless stories until it got to a point where I felt no matter what home I went in, if I didn't take some money out of that house, I was performing a disservice. This is the fact. This was the experience. And it was not only my experience, it was other people's. Slowly the movement grew and grew until everything, all the university, other things were washed aside. It was Thakur's cars. Cars began to flood in. The whole friction and fighting between the various factions in various parts of the satsang organization disappeared. Suddenly everyone was concentrated on Thakur. They love Thakur, they have to do for him. And miraculously, instead of a lot of manipulations and adjustments that have to be made to make quarreling people fit together, they all came together. And I understood as the time went on, before the ball game was over, we had so many cars there, but more than that, where an organization could have disintegrated as Thakur grew old and they wondered who would take over and different groups would fight, the organization was integrated and united all around Thakur and Thakur's life. That was the beauty of this man's psychology. And that's the story of the automobile avatar. Cars came and came and came, but in the process, people became integrated. There are many other stories. They could become very exotic and very esoteric. One time we went to one very famous astrologer. It was 11 o'clock at night. I had a group of people with me. We burst in his door and he said, oh, Hauserman, I know what you can. Don't worry, sit down, sit down. He immediately went inside, brought out 400 rupees, gave it to me. You don't even have to ask me. I said, why, what do you mean I don't have to ask you? He said, you don't know. He said, the condition of Bengal is such. And he went into some different planets. Mars is in some place. Rahu and Ketu are in another place. We're doomed to all sorts of destruction. And the only solution is to give iron to a real Brahmin. Do you know what Thakur is doing with you people in this apparently insane thing? He's saving Bengal because all this cars are made out of iron. The iron's going to a real Brahmin who is Thakur. And all these negative planets where you see disease and troubles and suffering and strife are all being smoothed out. That was the astrologer's point. The other people who would come, I'd go to their house, they were ill, the people would get well. I'd find a man who didn't have a job, we'd take his money, he'd get a job. It was really like living in the early days of Christ, and everyone felt it. It went on and on until the end, near the end of Thakur's life, when it stopped, and that's a different story. That's the story of the automobile avatar.
Joy.
Often Peter will ask later when Thakur would say, everything depends on these cars, what did he mean? Well, what I have understood from what he meant was, the satsang was a vast, spread out organization of many families, many individuals, many groups within it, many groups within the groups, many people with ambitions. As Thakur grew older, the center integrating force was going to go out, and it had excellent chances of disintegrating into many quarreling, fighting sects. But when Thakur left and Borda took over, with hardly a ripple, the organization grew and expanded and went on. And I think the cars and getting these cars and people giving only because they loved Thakur with no reason, Thakur became prominent, not their ambition for their own particular area or their own particular group. Because Thakur became prominent, everything integrated together. That was the beauty of it, and I think that's why he said everything depends on these cars. Talk about management, psychology, talk about perception and handling people. Who could match this old man with his water pipe that we love so much and miss so much and still lives in our hearts? Amen, brother.
Beautiful.